8:24, back here on Monday morning with some financial motivation to get our week started. Blair Mantin from Sands Associates joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We're talking about this notion of debts. What are signs that we have a debt problem and how to manage it? But some recent statistics just came out talking about how serious this issue is for Canadians.
Yeah, it's not getting better. It's getting worse. So every quarter, Statistics Canada releases the household debt ratio. So for every dollar of disposable income, how much do we owe? It's been at $1.67 the past few quarters. You thought maybe it's going to go down. Hit $1.68, the most recent stats. So it's not good.
Record high, overly concerning, especially here on the West Coast, given cost of living. So if there were 5 tips we could go through, and we could start with this, how much you owe and understand to whom you owe this money. What do you suggest with taking an inventory?
Yeah, so a big risk factor is just when you start to think, oh my God, it's such a big problem, I'm going to stop opening the mail, going to stop looking at the bills, and you start to lose track of who you owe. Sometimes you've consolidated things and you forget about that consolidated debt, but you also build up other debt. So the key thing here is you got to take stock, and a great thing to do, especially now because there's been a data breach, is to get your credit report. So there's 2 credit reporting agencies in Canada, Equifax and TransUnion. Both will give you a report for free once per year. And again, you want to make sure your information hasn't been compromised with this big data breach that happened with Equifax.
And how complicated is that to determine the safety, especially with Equifax?
So really easy. If you go to our website, SandsTrustee/downloads, you'll see a form there you can send off to the bureaus. Within a couple weeks, they'll send you back your bureau and just go through it line by line, or call us if you have questions. It's pretty easy to read, but you'll see if, hey, I've never shopped at this store, I've never lived at this address, I've never had this job. There could be some things in there that would indicate, hey, someone's messing with your credit.
Okay. Strategy. If we have debt and we're using credit to pay debts, what are some things to keep in mind here?
That's a huge issue. So if you find every month, you're actually going further into debt, you're moving money from one credit card to another, or even worse, if you're using a payday loan, the interest rate on a payday loan is 432%, and that's the minimum. It's insane, right? So if you're taking out a payday loan, then you're taking out another one to pay it back. All you're doing is you're actually digging deeper into the problem. And if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you do is you stop digging. So you got to stop moving money around each month using credit to pay credit.
Okay. At what point does the reality set in when you have this debt, if you're not using your credit to pay credit, that the collection calls become a reality here?
Yeah, usually that's after 3 months of missed payments. So for the first couple months, the banks or the credit card companies, they're going to want to work with you. But after you miss 3 months, oftentimes they're giving up on you as a customer, and they're going to call in the heavy hitters, so to speak. Collection agents can call you 7 days a week in BC, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. for 6 of those days. But the key thing that most people have no idea about is you don't have to consent to those phone calls. If you send them a letter, and we can give you the letter on our website here, you can stop those phone calls dead in their tracks and just deal with them by mail. If you could have paid this debt, you would have paid it to the bank. So getting into a lot of discussions with a collector isn't going to be productive. Talk to someone that can help you.
And as you're talking through it, I think there's an important point to consider here is the physical and mental stress that comes from dealing with the debt altogether.
Yeah, that's the most rewarding part of my job, is seeing people just in such a tough situation from debt and how that can be transformed when they actually deal with it. So we surveyed our clients. 97% of people are suffering from anxiety, fear, stress in their jobs, stress in their family relationships because of their debt. And if you actually deal with the debt, face it head on, you can rebound, you can recover better than you were before.
Overall advice, if it's an overwhelming mountain of debt you're dealing with, the take on just making your minimum payments, what can you do aside from that itself, or is it just focusing on that first step?
Well, what we say is you got to stay out of the minimum payment trap or the minimum payment hamster wheel. What you got to do is look at your statements and realize if all you're paying is the minimums, you're probably on the never, never plan. It's going to take you 40, 50 years to get out of debt, and that's not good for anybody except for the banks here. So what you need to do is if you're only making minimum payments, realize you're not getting ahead. Figure out what you need to do to get out of debt, and if it's too much for you to handle, talk to some experts who can give you a hand.
Well, you're ready to provide the help. What's the website where they can find out more?
Yeah, sands-trustee.com. We've got 15 offices in BC. It's a free consultation. Sit down with us. We'll help you move forward.
Take that inventory and get out of that debt. Blair, thanks for coming by. We'll put that information on our Facebook page as well. You just saw the website on screen, too. Appreciate your advice.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break.